Retro Hangover, supported via Patreon by listeners like you. We would especially like to thank patrons Lyle McKarns, Ashton Ruby, Randall Quiggle, Tony G, Stud Still Smash the Milkman, Keith Gasper, Miss Peachy, JC, Megan Caruso, Mass Keaton, Andrew LaGuarri, Ozzy Garcia, The Retro Vixen, Adam from The Good, the Bad, the Backlog, Lunchbox, aka The Disgruntled Gamer, Dischimera, Jenny E, Rick Firestone, Parallax Puddles, Soha, Dave Jackson, Matt, aka Stormageddon, Retro Overdrive, B. Ross and Van Fernal from Super Garbage Day, Raging Demon, Storm Beagle, The Emperor, Eric Guess, Nomad from the Retro Wildlands podcast, Ash Event, Alan Bingham, Ryan, Player One, Mike the Ref from Backbreaker Gaming, Darth Emick, Low5 Alex, Alt, Renner Dreaming, and Oh Me. Your continued engagement and generous donations are deeply appreciated.
Open your ears and crack some beers. You are listening to the most recent episode of Retro Hangover.
And hello, retro and classic gamers. Welcome to the podcast where we have happenings hailing hellions, hearkening hellacious homophones, honoring hypoginophobia. This is Retro Hangover. I am your co-host, Chris Copleen, with special guest, the first patron saint of podcasting, Lyle McKarns, and, as always, your host, Shane Dick Dragon Punch Salter.
I'm sorry, I did not sign off on this introduction. What was that again?
It's called, you should probably read the notes before you come on air.
This is what I get for trusting you with this.
You know I always put these things in here, Shane. It should be no secret. It's in plain text. I'm reading it. You know exactly what you're getting into.
I mean,
a limp dick dragon punch.
Yeah, no, it's
tasty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. It's like a noodle or something. Wonderful.
And topical.
Love
yes.
this.
I mean, all those words are right there in black and white.
Right there.
They sure are. They sure are. This is what I get for just assuming that I will not be thrown under any sort of bus by my co-host. But no, it's fine. It's cool. I like that. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you're taking this rather personal.
No, of course not. Why would I?
I could always try and get a prescription, and just kind of pass off.
Hey man,
off the drugs.
I say these days you can just get it online. You don't even have to. You don't got to talk to anybody.
I'm just saying I get paid for it. I would get paid for it. You would have to pay for it.
Oh, okay.
That's the difference.
No, that's
almost anything I can do online without having to talk to anybody. That's a win.
True.
That's also true.
That's
also true.
I get like irrationally irritated when I have to actually call places to get things done.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, welcome to a video game podcast show where we talk about retro video games, not erectile dysfunction. Welcome back to the show, Lyle. It has been quite some time. It's nice to have you here. I can't even remember the last main show we had you on. I think the last show that we had you on was 2 years ago with the Final Fantasy V 4-Job Fiesta.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's been a minute. So how you been doing?
Yeah, busy.
Busy. Yeah, I can imagine.
I like the very succinct answer to that. It's just like, what have you been doing? Busy. None of your fucking business. It's busy.
All right.
Leave it alone.
I feel like I've always got about 3 more things to do than I have time to do.
Dude, I can relate to that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone who is an adult and or has children can relate.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But anyway, we are here to talk about a game at somewhat of Lyle's behest. I'm going to get into that later. This is my fault. You're welcome to everybody here. But before we get into that, which is Hellboy Asylum Seeker for the PlayStation, we like to talk about the games that we have been playing lately. And to start that off, we always start off with our most esteemed guest, and they can lead this one off. So, Lyle, what game have you been playing lately?
So, last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, what is time? I can't remember. The Steam Summer Sale popped up and said, hey, we would like some of your money. As, you know, Steam is wont to do.
There.
But one of the things they offered to give me for not very many of my dollars was Borderlands 3. And I don't know much if I've talked about this much on our Discord or that I've been there much recently, but Borderlands 2, it's one of my favorite game series. And I'd been really hesitant with 3 because as soon as I finished Borderlands 2, I immediately went and played the pre-sequel. And that game is fucking garbage. And I was really, really hesitant to play 3 because I didn't want more garbage. Like, I loved Borderlands and I didn't want my memory of it spoiled. So I finally picked up 3 for not too terribly much. And so far I'm enjoying it.
I'm trying to remember if I even played 3. I don't remember if I did. I think I did. Maybe. I don't know. I didn't play the pre-sequel. I played Tales from the Borderlands. I like that one, but that's like a whole different thing.
Yeah, if you haven't played the pre-sequel, let me make a suggestion. Don't.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That'd have been a suggestion you should have made about the game today, but that's fine. Keep going.
One of my really good friends told me not to play it, and I didn't listen, and he was right and I was wrong.
There we go. It's on record.
The best I can say is that it feels like the cardboard cutouts of your favorite game. It's like all of the set pieces are there, but nobody knows what they're doing with them. It was bad. And so far, this has not been bad, and that makes me happy. And the other thing I've been playing, inspired by today's pick, because I picked it up and this game should be perfectly for me and is only so-so, is the newer Hellboy game, Web of Word, which is a Hellboy action roguelike. Now, every single one of those words ticks a box for me. It should be an amazing game, and it's not an amazing game, but it's not terrible.
Are you saying you'd rather play the game of the day?
No. I am not saying that at all.
No, he said the game was fine, Chris.
Okay. Why are we giving away our preview here? So we're saying this game is magnanimous. Okay. That's what we're saying. Lyle, any other games you got for us?
No, I don't get a ton of time to play, and when I do, I tend to focus on not very many at once. I did already finish the 4-job Fiesta for this year, mostly by getting more levels. I had a not super sturdy party and ended up just getting a crap ton of levels and then getting it done.
Oh yeah, still got to work on that. I've been slacking. My ninja's going to carry my party. It's a bad party as well.
I had a time mage.
Oh, that helps. That
Yes,
helps a lot. Yeah.
I mean, I had a time mage, black mage. Jesus, what else did I even have? A berserker and a ranger. That's why. I'm like something else useless. A ranger.
Ranger has good abilities if you can put it on another class. That's the good thing about Rangers.
And all of those other classes that could benefit from those abilities weren't the ones I had.
Weren't in your party. No.
So really what I had were 3 time mages of varying effectiveness and an angry person with a stick.
Yeah, that's true. Oh man, I'll talk about mine here in a minute, but before I do that, let's get into Shane's video games adventures. So Shane, what have you been playing lately?
Oh, pretty much just more of the same. It's actually more of like what I'm not playing at the moment. I finally got to the point where I feel like I got what I wanted out of Diablo Immortal, so I think I've decided to put that one down for now. I basically got through all of the story content and leveled up to the point where I'm kind of just making very small incremental gains, and I realized that I'm at that like stage of the game now where I'm really just logging in every day to do just the grindy like daily stuff, and I'm not really making any meaningful progress. So I felt like at that point, I was like, you know what? I think I'm probably good. Especially since, my time is at a premium.
Yeah, if you're anything like me, you have enough regular chores. You don't need video game chores.
Yeah, something like that. And so, well, it was also like I have this limited amount of time that I can spend playing video games, so what am I going to do with it? And that's pretty low on the list considering I have other things. Like even in the realm of just Diablo, I want to play more of Diablo 4 because I've still got a lot to do in the current season before that wraps up in August. So I want to spend some more time on that. And also I mentioned this in the last one. I think Ashton said he started checking it out too since the last episode, but I've been playing that MMO Terrace Land still. So that one's been pretty fun. It's actually been kind of nice to get back into being a dedicated healer. I forgot how much I like playing that role because I haven't really played an MMO at all for like years now. So that's been nice, and I can do that in little bite-sized chunks. I haven't gotten the time yet, but I've gotten a lot of support from our stalwart Discordians that I should try to continue getting back into FF14. So I may try to set aside some time to do that because we have at least a few people that are regulars in the Discord and also patrons that want to take some time to play together. So that'll be fun. So I think I'll try to do that.
Well, and also having a healer that in your party that certainly makes it more fun.
Yeah, I mean, usually I was having that conversation with them about the actual necessity of healers in the current state of the game, and the gist that I got from it was, yeah, they're like still kind of needed, but mostly just because the game has a strict rule around which roles make up a party. Like that's kind of it. It's like the game says you need a healer, so here's a healer.
Yeah, I mean, you need a healer for the dumb black mages who just want to stand still and cast Fire 4 all the time. Hi, that's me.
Yes, the ones that stand in the fire. Yep, got it. Mm-hmm.
It's like I have two choices. I can either move or I can do damage. I can't do both.
See, that's why they got to make it so that you can cast while moving. Then the problem's solved. But anyway, so I haven't been playing any of those things, but mostly my time has just been playing Terrace Land and a little bit of Diablo 4. So, and also, getting through the game today, even though it's kind of short, but it didn't feel like it. Anyway, Chris, what have you been doing?
It's a good thing it was a short game, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice short game. Short games are good.
Short games are good. Yep.
Yeah. So I've been fairly limited outside of games for content. So, but I have been able to make some progress in Eiyuden Chronicles. I was kind of depressed about my progress because most of it was just trying to pick up characters. I think I did that for like 3 or 4 hours. Because if you're not aware, Eiyuden Chronicles is like Suikoden, which means there are a shitload of characters to collect. They're not quite like Pokemon, but you know what? Just if you don't know Suikoden, it's like Pokemon, but with people. So there you go. So collected a bunch of people to put in my army in my castle. And spent like all the time doing that, but actually no real progress. At least I can warp now. That's a benefit. I miss Vicky from Suikoden. That's who I miss. I really miss Vicky. But I have the new Vicky, who's not as good as the old Vicky, but is still Vicky. Forge Job Fiesta. I'm trying to get that done. I was trying to get that done so we can make our donation at the beginning of July. That did not happen. So unfortunately, now it's on track to go for August. But trust me, the donation is going to be made to the charity on August 1st. We definitely complete it here. That's what we do. But my classes, Lyle, it's pretty brutal. I did this to myself in a way because I decided I was going to be cute and go for one of the more specialized runs. I decided to do an onion run, which I didn't know the complete rules. I thought you could get any class from Final Fantasy III at any time, but apparently you can only get one of 3 classes on each crystal. So I didn't know what the exact rules were, and it kind of bit me in the ass. My first class was a thief, which
could be worse. Could be a lot better, but could be worse.
Could be a lot better. Second class was a geomancer,
Third class was a monk, which fine, but by this point I'm like, I need something. I need something. And then the fourth class was a ninja. I'm like, well, this is a little late. Like, so thank you, Gilgabat, for giving me these classes. Now I have to like lean on my ninja, the glass cannon of classes. In fact, they're like all glass cannons. It's fantastic. There's no defensive stat in this party. It doesn't exist. They all die all the time. At least their speed stat is fast, and they can equip twin lances. But aside from that, I'm royally fucked. It's going to be great grinding at the final dungeon, trying to defeat Neo X-Death. If any of my previous runs have told me anything, it's going to be painful. It's going to be extraordinarily painful for as much fun as I've had, actually, with the party up until this. But, oh boy, it's going to be rough. But that's what I've been playing. I've also been playing the game for our next mainline episode on my 2DS. And I'm excited about that. It's actually flowing pretty well. But I'll talk about that when I get to it, because it's going to be a great episode, I feel.
You do that so well. It's almost like you know what you're doing a little bit and can foreshadow things. It's always very impressive.
Slightly. Oh yeah, and as we're recording this, it was my last day in the office in the Navy, and this isn't a bottle of champagne. It's actually a beer. But I thought I'd pop this open. The beer, funnily enough, is called Gulden Drak. So I think it means Golden Dragon, which is the best kind of beer I could drink for this. It's my last day in the office in the Navy. I'm never going back into the office for the Navy. It doesn't mean I'm never going to have to work again, of course. I'm going to have to work. But for the time being, I'm just going to celebrate the fact that I will technically not be working for the next month or so. So I'm going to pop this open. Hopefully I don't break anything. And I'm going to pour myself a nice, it's pouring all over me. That's bad. And I'm going to pour this into this glass so it doesn't continue to pour over me. I am so wet right now. That's getting clipped. And you
got a little excited there, Chris.
I got very excited. Oh, man. It's just like, I swear I didn't piss myself or have anything else. By the way, I'm also sitting in... Actually, I probably shouldn't say what I'm sitting in right now because I could probably be held legally liable for that. But you know what? I'm ready to get this kicked off. So Shane, how about you make a good segue while I dry myself with all this wetness going on here?
How the fuck am I supposed to segue from that, Chris? What? Also, what are you sitting in? Are you sitting on like a chair made of like blocks of cocaine? Like what? What is okay. Anyway, guess what?
I'm not going to say yes.
Well.
He's got a DX racer full of cocaina. Anyway,
cocaina.
I mean, he's dealing with some swamp ass, and the game was swamp ass. So,
oh god, yeah. So
can't
there you
get
go.
there yet. Can't say that yet.
That's your segue. There you go. He's got swamp ass, and speaking of ass and swamps. Boy, do we have something for you today. It's Hellboy, Asylum Seeker, also known as Dogs of Night. There you go. Chris, why don't you tell the people about this game that even Wikipedia doesn't have anything in the gameplay section for?
Want to know how a game about Hellboy, a comic book character with a devoted cult-like following, got created? So would we. I mean, I would really want to know how it came to be and how the developers, Cryo Studios, secured it. But we don't. What is known is that this game was originally Hellboy Dogs of the Night, which was released on PC in Europe in December of 2000. And, for whatever reason, the game was ported to the PlayStation 1. Again, the PlayStation 1, as in the first one, a console from 1995, in spring of 2003 in North America, with developer Hoplite Studios and publisher Dreamcatcher Interactive handling the duties. How is it received? Poorly. When game rankings was a thing, the PC release garnered an 11.5% in aggregate. The PS1 release received a 0.5 out of 5 from the official US PlayStation magazine. In terms of sales, well, there's no data to be found, really. This game is so obscure that all of the Metacritic scores say TBD on that website, as if it never existed. Should it have? Or should it exist in the depths of hell? And that is your brief history of Hellboy, Asylum Seeker.
All right, well, there you go. Boy, this is... I wasn't kidding, by the way. I went to go look, and the Wikipedia article for this game, just like, if you go and expand the gameplay section, it's just like, hey, there's nothing here. If you want to contribute something, go right ahead. I'm like, I do not.
It sure is a game. It sure is a game, and you sure can play it.
Of all the things I've played, this is absolutely one.
There's nothing in the gameplay section. That's accurate.
That's, yeah. That's probably intentional.
My mother did always say, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything.
Hey, there you go.
Well, that was this podcast, everybody. Come back in 2 weeks when we talk about Chrono Trigger. Anyway, this is a reminder that this is Hell Month. I forgot. I should have said that at the top of the episode because it is blazingly hot as hell down here in Florida. So we decided to pick 2 games that remind us of hell. And boy, oh boy, did we pick this game. Yeah, we succeeded. We definitely succeeded in this endeavor. So I guess it's time to get into the personal experiences. Lyle, I'll start with Shane, actually. Shane,
okay,
Shane, what is your personal experience with Hellboy?
I mean, if I could take out a restraining order on a game, I would consider it. But yeah, I don't know, man. Nothing. What? I didn't even know this game existed. To be fair, like, the only experience with the Hellboy IP that I even have is with the first movie. I've never even read a graphic novel, which I've heard they're good. I've heard it's real good. So maybe someday I'll get around to doing that. I feel like this probably did that a grave disservice, but yeah, man, I don't know. Like, I didn't even have a PlayStation. Definitely not in 2003. So I didn't know this was a thing until Lyle foisted it upon us.
I'm going to add some clarification, which is why I'm going to go next. Lyle did not necessarily foist this upon us. He tried to. He did try to. And he failed. It was put up on a patron poll several times. The patrons did not vote for it. And in the infinite wisdom that I have, and I decided to extend a handout to Lyle. Not an olive branch, because it's always been at peace. So just extend a handout. I'm like, I miss the days of tyranny. I do. And I can't remember how he recommended that. I'll leave that up to him. He can describe it. But I miss the days of tyranny. I want to try out Hellboy, because even when he nominated, he's like, this game doesn't look that good, but I really like Hellboy. And I'm like, okay. So I thought to myself, we could do this. It can't be that. It's a late PlayStation game. It can't be that bad. So I decided to put it on the schedule for us to try.
Okay,
so
fine. I blame both of you
upon
then.
us. You can blame whoever you want to. I'm taking full responsibility for whatever we say in this episode, which, by the way, stay till the end to see whether or not it holds up. So
the
Lyle,
answer may surprise you.
It may. Or will it? So Lyle.
In my vagina. Sorry, go ahead.
Lyle, what is your personal experience with this game?
So this is a rare opportunity for me to say I actually played a very small amount of this game much sooner than either of you. Either during or right after college, we had a PlayStation and somehow had a copy of this game. I had already seen the Del Toro movies, wildly in love with them because they're fantastic. Picked it up and played a few minutes of this game, like 10 or 15.
Enough? You played enough? Yes.
Yeah, 10 or 15 minutes of this game. You know, the opening graveyard scenes. Couldn't really figure out how to make it do anything. At the time, I hadn't really experienced a lot of varieties of games. I had no idea what I was doing. It didn't work. And so I put it down. And potentially when I was more tyrannical and had more sway over the patron votes, I think I put it in, and I genuinely, when I initially recommended it, it definitely got bad reviews, but I didn't know how bad it was. All I knew was it was a Hellboy game, and I genuinely do love Hellboy. I mean, I've read, like, the graphic novel set more than once. I have opinions about the movies. There's actually a new one coming out this year, which has the very small Hellboy community kind of abuzz. But yeah, so I actually had a very small amount of personal experience with it even before that.
No, this game came out before the movies, right? I think it did.
I don't remember when the movies were released. Certainly not before 2000. So
right.
The original version of this game certainly did. I don't remember whether they were before 2003 or not. But
it was right around that time period.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was. I certainly played it after that.
Okay.
Not as far after its release as I would have expected, given that it's a PlayStation 1 game, but...
You know what? I have the power of the internet. I'm going to... What was the name of the first Hellboy movie?
Hellboy.
There you go.
It's Hellboy.
Also, just as a fun aside, I asked Gemini to write, because I wanted to see what it would do. So I asked Gemini to write a summary of Hellboy Asylum Seeker earlier today. And the way that I phrased the prompt was write a summary of the history of Hellboy Asylum Seeker for the PS1. And the answer that the AI in its infinite wisdom came back with was Hellboy Asylum Seeker was not released for the PS1.
Whatever universe that AI is living in sounds like a better one than we have.
Yeah, that's true.
So the movies came out after this game. And I actually, like, when I was talking about this game in our Discord, which is free and you should join if you're not part of it, I was asked if Ron Perlman did the voice for it. No. I mean, we'll get more into sound. That's not a bad aspect of it, I don't think, particularly, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, this came out before the movies. So I don't know what inspired them to port this game to the PlayStation 3 years after the PC release. I have no idea. None. The world may never know, because Wikipedia and every other source of information that you can get about this game, you can't find anything. It's almost like the developers want to pretend it never happened. I couldn't imagine why.
Oh, your names are in the credits. We know who you are.
It's not. They're like, man, I wish we worked for Japan in the early '80s so that we would get dumb pseudonyms, and no one would know who made this. Just like Castlevania, like the good old days. Fuck. But that's a good plot for what we're about to talk about here, which is the plot and writing. Shane, my brain has been erased, and you're better at talking about this when it comes to this game's plot. Do you have any idea what's going on here with this game? What's the?
You know what's funny is that I did when I first started playing it. Like, I was following along, and then along the way, the game made me forget what the fuck was going on. But no, so okay, essentially, this takes place sort of like early in Hellboy's career with the BPRD, the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense. It's in, like, I think 1962 or something, like early 60s Prague. And Hellboy and Sarah are investigating their missing agent companion, Peter, who lost contact somewhere in Czechoslovakia. So it's up to them to kind of uncover what's going on, what happened to him, and this sort of downward spirals into fucking supernatural things and time travel and demons and zombies. It's shit happening every 666 years, which I cringed incredibly hard at that one, by the way. But yeah, that's it. I mean, that's kind of it. Like, you stumble upon these two, I think, immortal. Are they immortal? I don't know. Immortal brothers, twin brothers. Like, one he good, one he bad, and like one's got a twirly mustache, you know, and he's trying to do some nefarious shit. Like, Lyle, what is it? Is he trying to, like, open a portal to hell or something? Is that what he's doing?
I mean, I don't remember, but a portal to hell or...
Oh, no. Yeah, I was right. Sorry. Here we go. I found it. Yes.
Oh.
So every 666 years in which the good brother, the Jedi, if you will, prevents the Sith brother from opening a portal to hell. And so, like, as the dark powers begin to, like, culminate in this area where, by the way, I have to believe that the actual graphic novels are not this fucking on the nose, because, like, this is just so... this is like
dumb.
Hot Topic level fucking, like, it's they're like, okay, all right, what if you open a portal to hell every 666 years and it happens in a place where there's a mental hospital built on top of some, like, ancient ruins? It's so badass. And that's exactly what this is. So there you go.
No individual part of this would have felt out of place in a Hellboy story, but they were not that Hot Topic.
Yeah. Okay. I can't imagine they would be. I mean, that's terrible writing. So
it was the style at the time in 2003 and 2000.
Like the onion on my belt. You get
I mean,
to
be fair, in 2000 I was wearing a pentagram necklace.
Jesus
and
Christ.
My trench coat. So, I mean, this would have been right up my alley if other things were better.
Good
Lord. I mean, the plot would have been perfect for 15-year-old Chris. He would have been like, yeah,
rocking that Columbine fit.
Exactly. Trench coat Hellboy Mafia.
But at any rate, yes. So that's the gist of the story, and along the way you do a whole lot of things that are reminiscent of, like, a Resident Evil, or I thought about it more. It's actually more like Alone in the Dark.
So yeah, the plot's cringe. I could barely tell what's going on. It's not cohesive whatsoever. By the end of the game, I completely forgot that Peter was a thing. Like, what are we trying to do for Peter?
Oh, that was hilarious because, like, I was I was playing it and I got lost. Fucking surprise. I had to use a guide actually quite a few times for, like, a 4-hour game. Yeah. And I had my wife look it up for me while I was playing. She asked if she could help me out, and I was like, yeah, sure. So she looks up a walkthrough and she's like, all right, and it says something about, like, something for, like, a note that Peter left. Who's Peter? And I legit was just like, I have fucking no idea. I don't know who Peter is. It was like the plot critical dude at the beginning of the game, and, like, by halfway through, like 2 hours in, all memory of Peter was just gone.
So, like, you start off looking for Peter, and then Sarah, your pal Sarah, gets abducted.
Yeah.
And then you're all like, I'm going to go find Sarah. And then you meet up with, like, old man, like, immortal evil Jedi dude. And, I mean, he's not evil. He's totally good, even though he looks like
he's the good guy.
Looks like a fucking zombie. And do they ever explain why there's an asylum there? Anyway.
No,
that's
because
it's
edgy,
either.
Man.
Christ. And then, like, you get sent back 666 years to get dude's amulet.
Okay,
like, yeah,
can we stop about that for a second,
Sarah.
though? Right. How fucking crazy is that? That came just out of left field. Like, you're like wandering around this place, and then you find this dude, and he's like, oh, shit's happening again. My brother's an asshole. He's like, it's every 660, but I don't have my amulet. I lost my amulet. That's the only way that I could fix the things. So clearly, the solution that I came up with is that I'm going to send you into the past to get my amulet. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Well, I mean, like, it is a novel solution to when's the last time you remember having it?
666 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, apparently, which also, I mean, this kind of bleeds into the other parts of our discussion with, like, graphics and whatever, but I thought it was also just absolutely hilarious that we get sent back in time hundreds of years, and when you plop down into the supposed past, I'm just like, this looks the fucking same. Everything looks the same.
Yeah, except when you have to, like, feed a boy a chicken.
That's hilarious.
Use chicken on boy.
Dude, okay, well, I guess this fits in plot and writing because I don't know. I guess it's kind of gameplay, but
Where
fuck
else would it be?
I mean, I don't know. It's a puzzle game. I guess it's gameplay. You put a chicken in an oven. You put a live chicken in an oven. And it's in there for like 2 seconds, and then it's a fully cooked chicken with the little paper things on its feet. Where did those come from?
Hell.
That's how it works, man. You just throw a chicken in an oven and
Not only do you
magically
straight up
transforms.
murder a chicken, by the way, but also one of my favorite things that happened in this game is the encounter with the nurse. Holy shit. She's just like there with like a syringe or whatever, and she's like, "You're not supposed to be here." And
take your
Hellboy's like,
medicine.
well, I guess I'm gonna have to fight this bitch. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna go fisticuffs because that's all you can do as Hellboy because you get a little gun, but that thing sucks. So I'm like, all right,
And she knocks it out of your hand.
Oh, that's true.
don't have
She
the gun for
does.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you give this bitch the old 1-2, and then I'm like, all right, you're gonna knock her down. That's fine. No, Hellboy picks her up and throws her out a window. It's fantastic.
we're like bleeding the gameplay. I don't give a fuck, by the way. You had, like one of the solutions to one of the puzzles is you throw pig food into a well.
And the
And the
pig
pig
commits
jumps in it.
suicide. I'm like, what the fuck is this game?
I remember one time, like, what is it? What was the plot point? You're fighting some enemy, and then he gets done fighting it, and you're like, I just want your sword. We had heard nothing about a sword
Oh no.
at all up until that point. Why does Hellboy want the sword? I thought you were after an amulet.
Nah, it's
Now all of a sudden
mystic
you're after a sword. I need the mystic sword, which is
Yeah.
fucking worthless. But like, yeah, I just want your sword. We had never heard anything about the sword. And then you get back like 666 years in the future after like this embarrassing boss fight. And like, it's just like, cool, thanks for the amulet, bro. And the game just kind of like,
Good
you
luck.
fight like a giant mantis thing. Yeah, I don't know why I'm fighting a mantis thing. I don't know. I have to run through like a zombie town in order to fight a mantis thing. But once you do, you save Sarah, and then you get Sarah, and she's like, "What just happened?" And Hellboy's like,
Oh fucking
By
no,
the way,
we gotta get out of here.
"Yes." By the way, spoilers. Hellboy's like, "I guess we don't have to worry about it for another 666 years." I guess I don't have to worry about it. Ha 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 ha. You don't have to worry about it at all. Like, Jesus fuck. So what happened 666 years prior to that? Like, if he's this incompetent that he needs your help to go fix it, like, what has he been doing for eternity? Why is it this specific? It sucks. It's shit. It's the greatest thing ever. I mean, this is the grapes of wrath of video games. That's what I meant to say.
Wow.
It's right up there. Lyle, I know we haven't given you a lot of opportunity here. What's your thoughts?
The thing is, every piece of the plot feels like it's something out of a Hellboy series. Any piece of it feels like it could make sense in a Hellboy story. But it's like they took just a bunch of things that all made sense in Hellboy stories, threw them in a blender, poured them out, and be like, I guess that's the story. Just like fighting zombies? Sure, I'm sure he's done that. Time travel? I don't know of time travel, but it wouldn't surprise me. Big ass sword? Spoilers for, I guess, a Hellboy story and the movie. He kind of pulls Excalibur and becomes the King of England at some point. He's a half demon, whole demon from hell with a giant stone hand. Honestly, you want to know what my biggest complaint about the plot is, though? My biggest
Please.
complaint.
Please.
Hellboy didn't get to punch any fucking Nazis. That is a core character conceit of Hellboy, is he punches Nazis. And they did not put any Nazis in here for him to punch.
Yeah, why couldn't it have been like a evil like Nazi wizard? They were into a cult shit. They definitely could have made that happen.
Legitimately take any one of these characters, slap a swastika on it, and then let him punch them, and you've got a better Hellboy game.
I also loved how they just hand waved entirely how they got out of that last area after you defeat the Mantis thing. Like, they don't even show or explain how they get out of there. They're just like, Hellboy just says something to the effect of just like, we got to get out of here. I think I have an idea. And then it just like fades to black and then they're suddenly outside again.
How do we know that Mantis wasn't a Nazi? It wasn't like
Oh.
formation. We didn't get to see the formation from the top.
That's true.
He could have been running around on a swastika. You never know.
Maybe all
I will
those
say, that's
why
zombies
you gotta
were
kill
Nazis
it.
the whole
I
time.
did specifically write in my notes that the ending felt. I wrote extremely unsatisfying, but I think I'm just going to reduce that to just bad. It felt bad.
The ending was probably the best part. If that's extremely unsatisfying, then the
No. What you're thinking of is it being over was the best
Yeah,
part.
I
I
was
mean,
saying,
the actual
because it
ending of the
ended?
story.
Is that-
that's true.
Yeah, okay.
Was there any part that was satisfying?
Throwing that nurse out
well-
the window.
Yeah. Other than that, we'll leave that for gameplay.
Yeah. Let's just get into it. Plot shit. Let's get into the gameplay. And oh boy. I think we've already kind of referred to this. This game is trying very, very hard to be Resident Evil. You control the titular Hellboy as you try to solve puzzles and do something that resembles combat, I guess. So in order to combat, you hold down the square button and you punch, kind of, and you might hit something as it cut. Oh my god. That's the gameplay. Solve puzzles, and you know what? The puzzles aren't bad.
They aren't good.
No, yeah, see right there, right on time. They're not like the worst.
Yeah, but a lot of them are just totally nonsensical, though. Like, some of them don't make any sense.
One step up from adventure game puzzles.
Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
And it's a small step.
yeah. I was gonna say, like, one of the things that bothers me about it is that there were a number of instances where critical items are just in the most random ass places. Like the sheet music toward the end of the game that you need to get to like bring to that organ to play that god awful song, by the way. It's just like laying out in the open, just on like a, I don't like the side of the road. Essentially, it's the side of the walkway in the city that you're walking through next to a couple of zombies. There's no reason for it to be there. It makes no sense. It's just as if the developers were just like, well, I don't know, they need this for this thing. It's just, I'll fucking put it there. Just put it down somewhere. They'll get it. That's it.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest problem with the puzzles, and that's where it kind of aligns with earlier Resident Evil games. Is you have to find the item, and then, I mean, that's not all puzzles in Resident Evil, of course, but you have to have the items in order to solve the puzzle. Like the earliest example of that is when you're in the asylum proper, you have to find the pills, and then you have to assign the pills to the correct patient in order to advance. You
But
have
at
to find
least
the
that
patient, of
gives you
course.
hints, though. Like there are those posters
It
on
does.
the walls that tell you like who should be getting what. That was the other thing that irritated me, is there are some that just give you no context. Like the one where you have to spin the little cherub statues in order to open the door. Unless I totally missed something, which apparently I did, because actually that was the point. That was the point at which Brianna looked up the thing and was like, apparently there's something about a note and Peter, and he told you a hint to do this. And I'm like, I don't fucking remember that. So like, I totally forgot about that. So I just trial and errored it until I got it to work.
So, okay. Yes, there is a hint. However, the way you get the hint is bullshit, because you get the note from Peter. I don't even think it's on Peter. It's somewhere else. Unless I'm misremembering something.
That sounds right. It's not a note you have been carrying the whole time. It's another note from Peter, or maybe one of the patients. I don't remember.
I think it was from Peter. It's like Peter's note, but Peter's dead. He died at the gate. He didn't get into the gate. So how are you getting a note from Peter inside the gate, even though he died? Anyway, fuck. You get this note and you're like, there's nothing on it. It has invisible ink. And so what makes you see invisible ink? I don't fucking know.
Fire.
Like lemon juice? Oh yeah, obviously fire. Fire does. That's what makes you see invisible ink. Not like citrus. Not like common things.
Well, I will say, I'm gonna argue just a second here.
Okay.
There's a point in the asylum portion of the game early on, or maybe that is where we're talking about, where you hold the note to the fire. Is it only the one time?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, never mind. I thought this was referencing that back to that, but
Yeah. What tells you that you need to go to the fire?
my only guess is that it was hearkening from more of the adventure game era when you just tried to use everything you could touch.
I agree. Yeah. It had to have.
That's not a compliment, by the way, in case anyone was wondering.
And there's there's a lot of puzzles throughout this game that are like that. And like Shane said, like you just have to, if there's an item that looks like you have to pick it up, you have to pick it up. You have to pick it up because you're going to have to use it at some point. Like Lyle said, like an adventure game. It's just like an adventure game. Pick everything up, and at some point you're going to have to use it. In order to get a key in like the second area or like whatever chapter you're in, you have to push a bookshelf just randomly. Because if you don't push that bookshelf, when you fall through the roof to land on it, you won't be able to get the key. You don't know that. And by the way, I love the slow motion you get when you fall through the roof onto like, why is there slow motion? You're just landing. You're landing on a bookcase.
It's for
and you
dramatic
get the whole
effect.
Good God.
Well, it was also that particular puzzle too, with like the bookcase and having to go up on the roof and falling through and whatever. Like that was shortly after the part with the statues, and so I was still like, we were still going through the walkthrough, and the walkthrough was like, yeah, so when you go into the library, there's a couple of monks there, and you can talk to them, and then if you stand at the right angle, you should be able to see that there is a key on top of the bookshelf and also a hole in the ceiling. What? Fuck you. No, I can't. I tried, and I was like, I would have never seen that if it didn't tell me to specifically look for it. Like, that key was so hard to see on top of that bookshelf because it was like 3 pixels, and I would not have been able to tell if that was a hole in the ceiling. I thought it was just a ceiling. So if I hadn't been reading that, I am pretty sure that I would have been stuck there for like a lot longer than I should have been.
And from what I understand, the PC version is a little bit different. And if you're using the same guide I was using, you're using a guide for the PC version, and it sounds like the PC version is better. I can't confirm that. I don't want to try, but
it's a low bar. But I actually did find apparently the PC version is listed as is available on my abandonware, and I went and downloaded it. I haven't tried it yet, but I haven't decided if I hate myself enough to. Like, part of it's morbid curiosity. I want to see if somehow the PC version is less bad.
I don't know, because from what I read, it sounded like the PC version, when it was reviewed at the time that it was released, it was like just torn apart because of how buggy it is, and also that it adds even more enemies than what
you get more save points.
I mean, I will
sure,
say,
I guess.
Just by the math we've seen, the PC version got 11.5%, and the PS1 got a 0.5 out of 5.
About equal.
Which is 10%. So the PC version has to be at least 1.5% better.
It's because of the extra save points. That's where you get it from.
That math is mathing right there.
Checks out,
as the kids say. But before we go any further with the gameplay, because I know we're not done. We are not done. I just want to describe how you control Hellboy in this game, which is by tank controls.
Hell yeah.
I am a defender of tank controls in most situations. Not all, certainly. But I think when they are applied correctly, I think tank controls are a good method of control. I'm not here to condemn tank controls. However, and maybe this was just the emulator I'm playing on, because I will not disgrace my money on this game, you can use the analog control to control Hellboy, but when you're in analog mode, you cannot use the D-pad to control Hellboy.
Nope.
And tank controls don't work on an analog controller. I'm sorry, they just don't. They don't fucking work. It does not fucking function.
It certainly gets even worse.
It gets a lot worse. And the fact that it's not even why the D-pad does nothing. Nothing. It has no input. There's nothing assigned to it. Why can't I move him?
Yeah.
Why?
When I started, it defaulted to the analog controls too, and I was just like, "Oh no, this is so bad." And I finally figured out how to like swap my emulator to change it over so that I could actually use the D-pad to move, and it was a marked improvement, but the bar was very low.
Time to get into the combat.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Lyle, I've been taking up a lot of oxygen here. You haven't been able to give your takes on this most magnificent of games. How would you describe the combat in Hellboy? If you I'll just let you explain.
Bad.
Great.
You first off, Hellboy moves so slowly. Like he has one speed and it's meander badly.
He can run.
Yeah,
He can run.
So like somebody slamming an umbrella stick down every time. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, go on.
he moves so slowly, and like the punching feels so slow. And then it's like he's Hellboy. He has the giant stone hand, but no, you don't punch with the giant stone hand. You punch with their little like scrawny regular person arm. And you had to like throw 3 or 4 regular arm punches, and then he occasionally will throw a stone hand punch, but it doesn't seem to mechanically make any difference, other than taking up like twice as many frames of animation and taking twice as long to do nothing.
And if you're holding a direction while you're punching, because you don't press the square button to attack. You do that, you're wasting your energy. You have to hold it down.
And then you just kind of like jab, haymaker. Yeah. Which might as well have been a jab because it didn't actually look like it did any more damage.
Right, but if you're holding down a direction while you're punching, he won't throw the haymaker. He'll just keep jabbing over and over and over and over and over again.
And like your best bet for most of these things that you have to fight is to pin them in a corner and then just like jab them to death.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And that's for every enemy. Yeah, by the way.
Like
that's every
the random skeleton you run into in the cemetery, like one of them, or like the giant.
It's like a Sphinx thing.
Yeah, the harpy, the nurse lady, everything. You just peck at it with your scrawny arm.
It's hilarious. I don't know what happened. I think was the one that you fight against the Sphinx. You have the sword in that, right? You have the sword.
Yeah.
That sword is totally worthless.
Mm-hmm.
Totally worthless. I tried using it. Doesn't work. He holds it. Oh my God. He holds it like a dagger. And when you try to attack with it, he doesn't like do anything different than just try to punch with the sword. It's actually slower than your standard attack. But you get to that Sphinx battle, that Sphinx boss, and you walk up to it, you start punching it, and like I clipped through it. Can't wait to talk about graphics. I clipped through the boss, and it was facing away from me, and I just started punching its ass over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden, like, the level just ended. It's like, did I just ass punch this boss to death? I had no idea I was doing damage while I was punching his ass, or any other part of his body for that matter. But, like, apparently I just, like, fisted this motherfucker into submission.
Well, that's the thing is that there's no like tactile feedback in combat whatsoever. Like it.
Well, except for the zombies.
I mean, kind of, yeah.
Well, and then the enemies go huh, every time you hit them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess insofar as like at least the zombies will like block, and so occasionally you'll see that, but it's really hard to tell when you're actually doing damage. And it also is incredibly common to just clip through or into enemies, bosses, well, pretty much fucking anything, but I guess we'll get to that. And also, can we talk about how, for some reason, every enemy in this game takes like 30 punches to kill?
Jesus Christ, yeah.
Like, why? Like the very first 2 zombies that pop up very early in the game, I gave up and just ran away from them because I was just like, am I doing this right? Like, am I actually damaging them, or are they invincible and I'm just supposed to run away? Like, is this intentional? And then eventually I came back to the area and successfully like killed one. And I was like, oh, so it is doable, because it takes so long to finish off any just regular enemy.
That also kind of ties into another big complaint is when we're talking about any other version of Hellboy, except maybe in the newest game, but even him somewhat. One of Hellboy's defining features is he's a fucking unit, and he can just, like, take damage a bunch before he notices. And you can just keep beating him up, and he just kind of gets mad. I would say that Hellboy felt like a glass cannon in this game,
I don't go that far, but I get what
glass
you're saying.
but glass cannons still have cannonballs.
Yeah, say that implies that it does damage.
Yeah, it was an unloaded glass cannon, is what you felt like.
Well, yeah, and it's ridiculous too because he's got the right hand of doom, and you do nothing with it the whole game.
And I guess glass cannon may be a little bit extreme, but compared to what I would expect, it's not. Because it takes fewer hits for you to go down than some random zombie, and you were supposed to be Hellboy, who, spoilers, is a prince of hell. Like, the whole time playing it, I kept thinking to myself, this really felt like they wanted to make a Hellboy Resident Evil game. And on its surface, that sounds like a good idea. If it's a good idea, this is a very bad implementation of it.
I wouldn't say they wanted to make a Hellboy Resident Evil game. I think they wanted to make a Resident Evil game, but they got the Hellboy license.
Okay, that's an even better way to say that, yeah.
But not even a Resident Evil game, because I don't think, like, you look at the way this game is designed. There is, like, zero focus on combat. It feels like combat is forced. It's an accident.
Well, I feel like most of the combat you're supposed to run away from. That's kind of what I meant. It was like, the goal is to, like, most of those things, you're not supposed to fight them.
I mean, you say that, but then there's also like specific dialogue that Hellboy says after some of the encounters, though. Like, not that I'm saying that it's like a required thing, but it's odd. It's an odd choice that if the intention of the developers was like, actually, you're supposed to mostly avoid combat because it's like survival horror kind of, I guess, Resident Evil. But then they also include like specific voiced lines that only occur if you actually defeat the enemies. It seems weird.
I'm not disagreeing with that. It was just because of how hard the enemies were to defeat and how little health you had comparatively. That's why I was thinking like it wanted you to not fight rather than fight.
I think we also might just be giving the game too much credit.
No, I agree. I agree on this point outside of like the zombies, because the zombies, the game does want you to fight. And like if you kill an enemy, the enemy doesn't show back up. And it does have combat elements with larger enemies. And by the way, those larger enemies, they are easier to down than those zombies, like those kind of boss fights you face in the courtyard, which is just weird.
Well, because most of them have bigger hitboxes, but most of them also have other mechanics going on.
Yeah, and they're far. I mean, you never get to see those mechanics. It doesn't matter. You just hold down the square button, run up to them, and just battle over.
I can tell you my secret for making this game less bad.
Infinite health.
Yeah, I just turned on the infinite health thing from RetroArch. Is I'm like, I see what this game is trying to do, and I reject it, and we'll play it a different way.
Yeah, just the combat's terrible. You get weapons, you get a gun. Doesn't do much more damage than punching. I mean, there's one time you have to use it, which kind of sucks because there's this guy who keeps shooting at you no matter what. You have to use your gun or else you're going to die. That's pretty early in the game.
Oh, that's
and fighting ammo is scarce.
That is such a bullshit encounter, though. Like, I had to reload my quick save, I think, like at least half a dozen times on that, just because like the way that he's positioned, he's purposefully around a corner of a hallway and he's just waiting to fucking murk you. And there's like no good way of knowing what the range on your gun is because again, the feedback in the game is awful. So like you don't know how close you need to get until you get too close and immediately get shot in the face and knocked over. At
least health isn't too scarce.
Well, and that's another instance where if they had just made Hellboy tankier, that would have made more sense because if I'm thinking about this as if I were, knowing some of the Hellboy story and coming into it like you would do if it's a licensed property from a property that you like, I'm going to barrel through there, take the shots and just punch the guy.
Yeah,
but you can't fucking do that.
No.
And so I have to admit I didn't quite finish the game because I got to a point where even with my infinite health there was mechanics I couldn't manage. I couldn't make it work. Like I found a guide, I watched a YouTube video, and I still physically could not do it. Was the encounter at the end of I think Act 5? You got the teleporting wizard guy.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
And it's like, and what you have to do is run over to him and punch him before he teleports. And I was just running in circles and could never catch him. And I tried for probably 30 or 40 minutes to do that. And then I'm like, no. And I watched the rest on a long play.
Yeah, the strategy for that one is basically just run around in a circle constantly, waiting for him to pop up in a place that's close enough for you to get a quick like jab in before he disappears again.
Yeah.
Like for the record, on the long play of this that I watched after, it was still like, because I watched something that was not technically a speed run, but it was certainly faster than I finished it in. And even in that, that encounter still took a good 20 minutes or some shit. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think.
Oh, that's worse, because the one I watched, the person like just zipped right through it, and like they would stand and he would show up and they would be right in front of him, pop, pop, pop. Like they knew. It's almost like they did 100 takes and then put in the clip of the right one.
Yeah, for me, for that boss battle, which is the evil brother, by the way, that we were referring to in the plot area. He would always appear on the opposite side of where I was. Always.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's
yeah. It took me a while to take him out, and it took like a ton of save states in order to do so, because he would hit hard. And this, I just want to bring this up too while we're here. The save points, in this game,
all 4 of them
are fucking they're horseshit. And what are the way I experienced this first and how horseshit is, because when you're playing on an emulator, we use save states. I'm not ashamed to say I use save states. I'm trying to review the game. I'm not saying I'm like expert gamer bro here, right? But you have chapters in this game. This game's divided up into chapters. And you can save a game, and you go into a boss, you fight the boss, you get through the chapter, and you continue on. By the way, you don't get to save. So going back to this, the Cupid puzzle, when you rearrange all the Cupids, when you get back into that room, which is at the beginning of a new chapter, which I think is when you come back from the past, after the 666 years in the past, and you come back. Now they're like all little goblin creatures. And the trick to this is, if they see you, you get hit, and then you die in one hit. And when it's game over, you can only reload a save. There's no checkpoints, you just have to reload. But there's no save point in between when you last fought a Sphinx fist fetish boss and when you went back to the future. So if you die there and you don't do a save state,
you get to fist a Sphinx to death again.
You have to fist the Sphinx again. And I mean, I might have my order of operations wrong, but it's essentially the same.
That is a feature, not a bug.
Hey, I died again. Oh no! But if you don't know that's what the whole entire shtick to that area is, like, you got to go all the way back. It, like, in a chapter change, you're not getting a save opportunity. And so there was a couple times that, like, I just forgot to do a save state because I thought, I'm fighting these stupid bugs. These stupid bugs in the sewer aren't going to kill me. And they killed me because they wouldn't die. And I didn't know that they were eternal. I was just supposed to avoid them and ignore them. And I was like, oh, wait, I didn't save for that one save point. I'm fucking screwed. Fortunately, like, the game is short enough that you can make back your progress at any point, really, if you want to. But if you're trying to play this game organically, like on an actual PlayStation, God bless you. Like, it's not. And now the PC version does have more save points. That should be said. But yeah, the PlayStation version does not care at all. Like, no chill. It seems like it has less bosses and encounters, though. So,
well, I don't know about bosses, but it definitely has less encounters for sure.
I think we've beat up on the gameplay enough. Unless you sound
the
like
fuck we have.
Okay, let's fucking destroy it. Let's go.
No, that was just another thing that just really irritated me was the inventory or a lack thereof, right? Like, if this wants to be like a Resident Evil or whatever, I mean, not that I'm saying that the Resident Evil inventory is the pinnacle of inventories, because I'm not really a huge fan of that either, but at least it fucking exists. This doesn't have an inventory. It just has one little window that you can cycle through with, like, the shoulder button or whatever. And that's fine. That's not inherently bad. The thing that makes it bad, though, is that there's zero description of any of the items. You have no idea what it is that you're picking up. So, like, other than just seeing the little icon in that window and or the object in the world itself before you pick it up, you really have no way of knowing, like, what it is. And so it takes a lot of guessing.
It's a chicken. What do you want them to tell you? It's a chicken.
It's chicken.
Yeah, okay. Yes. Thank you. I love that you picked the chicken out of all of the things and not like, I don't know. Let me take one example. I had no idea that random bag that I picked up on the ground was pig food because it was just a brown blob. And I was like, I don't know what this is.
Or the monk's head.
Yeah. I mean, that one's pretty obvious, but although I did like how that one was used, where you're just like, yeah, I don't know, this guy's half blind and I'm just gonna use his head. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like that was another thing that just bothered me because it's just another instance of like, I feel like I'm just lost and the game is failing me in that some of these very basic things that should be there, like just aren't.
Oh, like with the water pressure puzzle. That reminded me of the water pressure puzzle. I don't know why. You don't have to use any items there, but it just reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Which just sucks. So if you want to know what the water pressure puzzle is, because this brings us back to the top of the gameplay, there's a courtyard where you can turn the valves in order to use water. And when you come back from the past, you get back to the courtyard, there's no water. And then you go and you can unlock a door that takes you down into a basement and says the water pressure is high. Got to lower the water pressure. And so what you got to do is open some valves and then go back upstairs and then turn on all the water so you can go back down and then open the door. And which isn't a bad puzzle in and of itself. Like it sounds pretty simple, but if you don't know that the fountain is there, because there's no indication that that's what would happen. Like even in Resident Evil, you get some sort of note that infers that they're linked together, that you can do something about it. And none of those notes exist here. It's just all, like Lyle said at the beginning of this, adventure-based shit. It's all like Sierra adventure-based games. That's what the core of the puzzles are. This game is, the gameplay is atrocious. Gameplay is atrocious. Combat is atrocious. Puzzles are not the worst. So there's that.
I mean, I guess there's that. I also just feel like, and I know this is maybe a little bit of a stretch because a lot of games like this, I think, suffer from this, even ones that we hold in very high regard, like the Silent Hill games. There are a lot of times where the puzzles are like, if you really sit and think about it for a moment, you're just like, this doesn't make any sense for this to be here other than just to be a puzzle, right? And so like I have to give a little bit of slack, I think, on that one, but I think just in conjunction with all of the other issues that this game has, I just had this real strong feeling playing through it of just like, none of these puzzles make any like logical sense, like for why they're here. Like they're just here for the sake of being a time waster is what it felt like. Like I don't know. To me, it never felt like there was anything that was like cohesive. Like it wasn't a natural part of like the setting. It was just like, this is here to impede your progress because reasons.
Most of them didn't even make video game logic sense.
No.
Yeah.
Sierra adventure game stuff. Or Lucas Games stuff. But that's why those games are dead. Anyway, let's move into the graphics.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say it that way because a lot of the graphics move into the graphics.
They do. I had to go watch a YouTube video because I was like, this has to be the emulator. It has to be the emulator. There's no way that the game would just randomly clip through the entire environment through its camera and like show me something from like a bottom view and like have all the framework of the camera and everything like that look horrible. Like this has to like glitchy. That had to be that. The lighting effects where the lighting is like a solid blue color.
An actual texture?
Yeah, textured and dithered and everything like that.
Oh,
that has
God.
to be an emulator issue. This can't have happened on an actual PlayStation. So I watched the YouTube video. No. That's how it looked.
Dude, that was so wild. Like I remember exactly what you're talking about. Walking down that hallway and from a distance you're like, oh, it's like this white sort of like bluish gradient of light that's coming from above on like a hole in the ceiling. Like, all right, that looks okay. And then I walk up to it and Hellboy clips through the light And
it's
I was
not
like,
clip. It's not clip.
and I was like, wait a minute, hold on. This isn't a lighting effect, is it? This is a whole ass texture. They just put a blue and white texture here.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the hallway.
And
Oh my God.
when you get the sword from the king character and you pull the shield up as part of the puzzle and it reflects the pink lights, that is one of the most hilarious moments, unintentionally hilarious moments in video games I think I've ever experienced. It is a moment of wonder. But I need to get to the character models because, Lyle, you like Hellboy, so please describe to everyone how they massacred your boy.
Chris, I don't know what you mean.
Oh, you don't?
I mean, did you not see those polygons? Like
I
all
see
12 of
something.
them?
Yeah, I see a pear on a pair of fucking toothpicks.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. Like so much of the Hellboy art, and I'm gonna show it off here.
Yeah.
It's the trench coat, and it's the trench coat, and there was no trench coat, so you just see this guy, this like red monkey in pants, running around with his twig arm punching things.
Well, not only that, but I don't understand how they got the proportions so terribly wrong. Like, it's just like
So bad.
he's just got this barrel chest, or not even chest, barrel torso, and these like completely like tiny like appendages.
Part of it is his proportions are a little weird. He does have like
Sure.
a big chunky torso and almost like goatish legs.
that makes
Sure.
sense.
I mean,
yeah.
but they were worse in this. Like his proportions are definitely a little strange, not this strange.
Yeah, it's like, God, he looks like a construction worker. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like those like big, like strong construction workers, like big bellied, but like never heard of leg day, a day in their life. Never even thought about it. Like no one ever looked at them and they're like, you know what? Have you ever thought about doing any leg work? No. It's just like drinking beer all day, every day, and crunches. Because somehow he had a 6-pack while having a massive gut. Good for him. I need to figure that shit out. But that character model, good Lord. That's when you got to play with the entire game. And you're right, where's the trench coat? Why is he topless? I have nothing against a topless man running around in a game, looking beautiful, hair flowing in the wind. It's a beautiful thing. But this Hellboy,
He didn't have hair.
I'm going to get my hair. But this Hellboy, why? He's out to save his beloved Sarah. Where is his coat?
Aren't they
Where
just
is this-
coworkers? I'm confused.
Me too.
What is
I
this
don't know.
relationship?
I mean, it's not explained. I'm filling in the gaps for what this plot lacks. But where is this trench coat? You're right. You're absolutely right. This band deserves to be clothed. This Hellboy deserves his clothing.
It's not so much that I objected him not having the clothing for any reason other than it's so iconic. It's
Absolutely.
I am trying to think of an example that would drive home the point for people who are not as familiar with Hellboy.
It's like Indiana Jones without his fedora.
Yeah.
There you go. And apart from just the Hellboy model itself, I mean, all the models are pretty terrible, and it's just a lot of like asset reuse too. Like there's actually very little difference in anything that you see in this game. A lot of the areas are either recycled or you just literally backtrack through them at least once or twice. So in terms of like overall like area, you're not really getting a whole lot. And a lot of the enemies are just sort of like palette swaps. Like there's 3 different color zombies depending on where you're at.
Which time period you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the zombies were a different color back then. That sounded oddly racist. Anyway, so like
Putting on a
there's
list.
that.
I mean, I realize Hellboy is pulling from the great tradition of H.P. Lovecraft, but can we leave that part of it out?
Yeah, we'll forget that part. But then, I mean, so there's that. So you're not getting a lot of variety, but then the other thing is like very few areas in this game, in my opinion, actually looked decent. Credit where credit is due. There is one spot that I actually did really like, and I don't know what the name of it is exactly, but it's sort of like I'm gonna say like a crypt kind of area in that, but like it's like that mosaic tile. You guys know that area that I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like that one I think actually looked kind of nice.
I agree.
But that's kind of about it. And then you end up having just so many graphical glitches and issues that are just the game. Like it's like, to Chris's point earlier, it's not the emulators that we were using or anything like that. It's just, that's how the game is. Like that part where you where you cause a pig to off itself, the well that it drowns itself in, the water texture is freaking the fuck out.
All the water
whole
texture
time
looks like shit. It looks like static.
Yeah.
All the water.
And I don't understand how this was left this way. Like, it had to have been a rush job, which of course I say that according to the history of this thing, this game was in development for 4 years.
Bullshit.
That's what it says.
I say bullshit. I say that they ported it last minute. That's what I say. I don't think it was actually in development for 4 years. Bullshit. I don't
know, man. But there's so many things. There's like that. Then there's the puzzle with the pedestals and the rocks and the bridge that's supposed to extend over once you solve it. You can already see the bridge because it's clipping through the ground.
Look, I want to give credit where credit is due. The environments are not the worst environments on the PlayStation. The models are not the worst models I've seen on the PlayStation. There are worse graphics on this system.
In 2003?
Look, I said as a whole. As a whole, it is not the worst. The glitches and the lighting are. That is some of the worst I've ever seen. That is atrocious. That's bad. But if you want to really get down to the nitty-gritty, the character models, the environments, everything like that, I have seen worse. It's not the worst. The glitching, yeah, that's
bad.
Bad. Really bad. But like in terms of the actual character models and environments, like we're really ripping on it. There are far worse on the PlayStation. I do want to stress that. It does look better overall than a game like Bubsy 3D or Superman 64. I know. Low bar.
I wondered how long it would take to get to Superman 64.
It looks better than Superman 64. It does. It looks better. It actually plays better.
That's actually true, which is fucking sad, but it's true.
I mean, once you get to the action stages, I think Superman 64 controls fine in the flying stages. I might be insane, but the action stages, it plays better than Superman 64, and it looks better than Superman 64, Sexy Man 64, even.
It most certainly does not look better than James Bond. How dare you?
That's true. That's the true Sexy Man 64.
Which level?
Yes.
Do we have anything more to say about how this game looks?
For England, James.
We didn't talk much about like the giant tentacle monster at the end. I don't have anything to say about it other than the fact that we haven't said anything about it.
It doesn't look bad. I don't think it looks bad. I think it's a bad boss fight. I think it's a horrible fight, but I think it looks fine.
Oh, you mean running to different pedestals and having zombies spawn and beating them up for 5 minutes each? It's not a good boss fight? You don't like that?
No, it's a horrible boss fight.
Weird. Huh.
But I mean, the boss graphically looks okay. Are you fighting on I'm just going to say a swastika so we can put Nazis in there so we can kill some Nazis. I'm going to say while you're running around the Nazis to kill the Nazi bug. I'm trying to insert Nazi killing, Lyle, for you.
Yeah. It certainly would more accurately tie into. I just had a thought about the graphics, and it's another reason it's so disappointing. Is that the art in the Hellboy graphic novels is so iconic because it's so simple. A lot of pages only have 4 or 5 colors on them, but they are 4 or 5 very high contrast colors. It's not 3 shades of muddy brown and 2 shades of green. You will get like a bright red and then black and then like the beige trench coat and then like a blue. And they're able to tell so much with a very constrained color palette. But instead we get, late 90s, early 2000s PlayStation mud.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know what you mean, Lyle. That was the style at the time.
I know it was the style of the time. That doesn't make it good.
Oh boy, pour myself another cup. We're having a good time. I'm having a good time. We're all having a good time. Graphics. The graphics. Are we ready to talk about the amazing sound for this game?
Oh boy, yeah. Let's.
It seems like you have a lot to say about the sound here, Shane, because I actually think the sound is probably the high point. I've seen the notes that Lyle put in here, and he seems to rather agree. It doesn't mean everything about the sound is good. In fact, I'm not going to say everything about the sound is good, but it's probably the high point. But you're about to take another massive dump here, so why don't you start us off on the sound?
I mean, I feel you may be building that up more than it needs to be, but no, it's just...
I have to build something up here. Come on now. I have to have some sort of anticipation for when we talk about whether or not this game holds up.
Oh, yeah, I got to keep people in suspense on that one.
Got to keep them in suspense.
Yeah, yes. So the sound design is fucking awful. I don't think there's... Okay, for what it's worth... I thought the voice acting was not the worst I've ever heard. I think the voice acting for Hellboy was actually okay. Not that there's a ton of voice acting anyway. The rest of them are, it's not great. It's pretty stilted, honestly. But Hellboy's is not bad. And you know what? I'll even give a little bit of credit back to because we didn't really talk about writing at all. But the writing for the dialogue, such as it is, because there's not a ton in the game, but it's all right. It's not bad. Like Hellboy's got a couple of cute little quips in there, you know?
What?
I'm talking about Hellboy specifically.
No. I mean, I guess if it's...
What do you mean, no?
It's like overly cheesy.
I don't know. He's got a few moments where it's not bad. I'm just saying, like, it could be a lot worse.
All right, well, fine. It could be... You are right. It could be worse.
Yeah. It certainly could be worse.
I definitely felt like both the voice acting for Hellboy and the dialogue he had. So first of all, I felt like there was not nearly enough Hellboy dialogue.
That I agree with.
Because I was inspired to go start rereading Hellboy, and the thing I noticed is he talks just a lot. He'll talk to his friends, his allies, the things he's fighting, and if nobody else is around, he'll talk to himself. And we definitely didn't get that. As far as the voice acting, I feel like the Del Toro movies really hurt Hellboy as a whole because we only ever see Ron Perlman. Ron Perlman is the standard at which everyone is compared to, and even though he was not a very accurate Hellboy, but he was a very good Hellboy. Like the way he was written in the Del Toro movies was not particularly accurate to the comics, but it's still iconic and amazingly done because it's Ron Perlman.
Does this Hellboy remind you of Ron Perlman? Because he kind of reminded... No, okay. Like this Hellboy gave me like a sarcastic, the voice acting and everything like that. You could easily mistake that this was Ron Perlman.
No, and that's what I mean by they got at least the tone of the character, right?
Yeah.
Is he does have that kind of flippant, sarcastic bent to him. My notes on the sound design were probably more generous than yours. I wrote that it is not all the way to distractingly bad, but is damnably close. But then my next note was Hellboy running sounds like a muddy horse on a tin roof.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Here's the issue. Overall, I think like the sound isn't terrible. I think like there's examples of voice acting that do sound bad with some of the enemies, like specifically the guards that you encounter in the asylum early on. Like just
You're not supposed to be here.
Yeah, like that. It's like worse than House of the Dead, which is an accomplishment. So pat yourself on the back there, Hellboy. But when it comes to like the music itself isn't too bad. The voice acting for Hellboy isn't too bad. Like the actual when you punch an enemy and you get that sound that notifies you when you're doing damage when you're not, that's not bad. Aside from like fisting the Sphinx, you don't know you're actually fisting it. It's just maybe it's just enjoying it too much. You never know. But aside from that, what I don't like about the sound, where it really rears its ugly little head, is when you're going in between screens. and like you hear Hellboy make like, or going down steps, and it's like you hear all like these random steps all over the place. And Shane's already said it sounds like an umbrella slamming against the floor. It sounds like he's taking 4 to 6 steps every single time he steps.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not well timed, and there's no excuse for that. Like, zero. We already know this is a poor quality product at this point. I think we're already in this mindset. But if you really want to convey to the people who are playing this game as like an artist, or loosely termed at this point for this one, if you want to like convey that to this point, like through sound direction, all you got to do is like, hey, don't you think like maybe putting 15 steps when he's only taking 5 is probably a bad direction? And being like, fuck it. It's 2003. No one's going to play this shit anyway. That's the vibe I get. That's the vibe I get.
I feel like you just landed on that one. Like it just came to you.
It really feels like the only people that the creative team hated more than us was themselves.
Yes.
Well, okay. And if we're talking about like sounds that occur when they're not supposed to, or like should but don't, that also applies to the music. The music is so fucking haphazard in this game. Like, there will be times where there's just nothing, just dead silence. And listen,
I thought that was my emulator. I thought that was my emulator.
Oh, no, that just happens. And like, listen,
okay.
There have been times where I have definitely said that the use of silence is important. It can be very effective. That was not the case here. It was just, I think the music forgot to fucking play. And then there are times where it will, like a backing track will randomly start just out of nowhere. Like an event did not happen. Like it just starts.
Oh, you're just talking about just the music, because I think there are times in this game where there are no sounds when there should be sounds. It's just dead quiet.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that happens randomly too.
Again, I thought that was my emulator, and I figured that was just, price of admission.
I don't know. I'm not playing this on original hardware. Maybe it is. Listener, do you want to find out? You can find out for us and get back to us. I want you to. Oh boy, I want you to. There's no prize or award for it. I just want to know. Go get the game, play it on your PlayStation. Let us know when you're fighting that bug after you show the monkey beast. Yeah, I'll say the monkey beast that you show the face to, and you fight him and he falls down on the ground and there's no sound after he falls 2 stories onto a cathedral floor. If that doesn't happen in the original PlayStation version, then it's definitely my emulator. I'll take that hit all day, all fucking day. But you let me know. You because I think that's actually an original hardware. I'm inclined to think that's actually happening, and that's not like the only instance of that happening. It happens quite a bit.
All right,
this
so
beer is 10.5%.
I will throw the game one bone in that I actually liked one of the sort of boss encounter tracks that it has. Which, by the way, I say one of. This game has like 4 songs, for the record, but
it's okay.
The reason I like it is because it's actually a pretty cool, like sort of like upbeat, like dance remix, almost like a club remix of an earlier track, like the more ambient sort of music that you have. It's that, but like remix. And I actually thought that was done pretty well. So it's more like you get the, you get the blood pumping for the combat. So I appreciated that for what it's worth.
So I listened to the OST this morning to remind myself, and by itself, like divorced from when it plays or how well it plays when it doesn't play when it's supposed to, just listening to the tracks, I dug them. But as Shane said, there's like 4 of them. So they're good if they're used well, which they aren't.
No.
And, in context, which they only sometimes are. But the tracks themselves, as pieces of video game music, they're pretty good.
I actually think they're not used the worst ways. I think they're used decently. Not greatly, not goodly, decently.
Well, inconsistently, I think, is one of my biggest problems.
I think that's fair too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. Like, I think the sound is probably the high point of this game. Like, it could be a lot worse.
Well, I mean, we did have like one positive thing to say about it, so comparatively,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Are we done? Ready? Are we? Fuck. I just want to say that the ABV in this beer is higher than the score of the PlayStation game. Just putting that out there.
Well,
are we ready?
The PlayStation one or the PC one?
Oh, the PlayStation
Because-
one. It's not quite above the PC one.
Things with an ABV as low as the PlayStation score don't even have to be marked as alcohol.
Oh, this is 10.5%. So it's at 10% for the PlayStation. So
I'm sorry, I was thinking of a literal of a 0.5, not the 10%.
oh yeah, not yes. I'm saying percentage wise.
Okay, sorry.
ABV is higher than the percentage that the PlayStation version got. But I think we're ready to get into wrapping this episode up. Oh boy, it's starting to hit me hard. The Golden Dragon is fucking me up. So we gotta get through this.
Okay, we got to get out of here.
So before we get into our final thoughts, we are going to be talking our patron pontifications, and shockingly, there are few of them. I could never imagine why. Kudos to our patrons who did provide thoughts on this game. I haven't read them yet, so I don't know if they're trolling or what to expect in these. So let's see what happens here. And if you want your thought read here over on the podcast, all you got to do is join our Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Join our Discord, which is free. You don't even got to be a patron to join that. But if you are a patron, you see the patron pontifications. Put your thought on the next game that will be coming out. I'd like to tag all my patrons when I do that, and I will add them here in this episode for myself, Shane, and our guest to read. And we will start out with Dischimera from Game Over Hell, which is a channel on YouTube. Go check it out. They are a fantastic channel, make great content. And Dischimera says, I didn't know this game existed until a friend streamed the Hellboy games. I wasn't thrilled by what I was watching, but maybe by the time I finish listening to this episode, I'll be more interested in playing it for myself. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right. As for Hellboy itself, I read a couple comics, which were all right, and watched the first movie when an artist crush I had turned out to be a fan of it. I enjoyed the first two films, didn't care to watch the reboot, and Hellboy is indirectly responsible for me discovering I quite like David Bowie. So even though I'm not a huge Hellboy fan, I should be grateful for that. Sorry, I don't have much to say about the game itself. I've grown pretty indifferent to licensed games. Thank you, Dischimera.
All right, next up on the list, we have Alt, who says, my only question is why? You've got all the great makings of a PS1 game. Tank controls, awful dialogue, puzzle solving, like in a Resident Evil game, wonky-ass polygons, though I do love the wobble, personally. In addition to that, you get slow stair climbing, a lot of long load screens. Oh my god, I didn't even mention that.
Oh,
and
yeah,
the best damn combat scene on the PS1. Imagine punching things with the not big arm. That'll show him who's boss. I only looked up a video. It looks like a bad RE clone. I made it to a part where you basically punch a ghost face looking owl that goes blah over and over, finished by the classic one-liner. Fantastic. Thank you, Alt.
Yeah, those load screens. Oh my fucking god.
I can't believe I forgot about that. Oh god, this game has more load screens than I think I've ever seen in any game ever. It's between every single room.
2003. 2003.
Yep. On the PS1.
On the PS1.
Yep.
A problem they solved in 1996 with Resident Evil.
Which is hilarious because I know why they did it, because if you get to an area where there's more than like 3 things, the game like starts to chug.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Figure that one out.
And not in the sick, tasty riff way.
No, definitely not. No blast beats to be found anywhere. Very disappointing.
Very. 0 out of 10.
And last, there's a pontification from Ozzy. Hellboy, Asylum Seeker is one of those patented worst games ever. You know the type. The one that grading YouTubers love to scream about and get clicks with, only for the game to then win a poll so that Chris and Shane have to play it. Much like Bubsy 3D before it, it always makes me wonder whether the game is objectively the worst or it's merely a bad game that has been elevated to something greater than it deserves to be. I haven't played it, it's probably bad, it's probably unenjoyable. But the worst game on the PS1? Well then, there are more than a few PAL releases that would like to have a word with you.
Thank you, Ozzy. By the way, Ozzy, this did not win a poll. I just hate myself.
I know you mentioned Bubsy there, Ozzy, but like honestly, personally, after having played this as much of it as I have, I feel like I did some penance for inflicting upon you Superman 64. I feel like I earned this by making you play Superman 64.
Well, I think that's a good segue into our last part of the show where we do definitively wrap this up, which is whether or not this game holds up today. Shane. I go.
Asking me if it holds up today implies that it did in the first place, Chris.
It does.
So no. No, it holds up as well as it ever did, which is to say not at all. The game is a dumpster fire, and I don't understand. Like, listen, man, I get that there have been a lot of like just shitty cash grab license games out there. This couldn't have been a cash grab, because I mean, as much as, and even listen, Lyle even admitted it, that the fan base is somewhat small, perhaps a nice, close, tight-knit community, perhaps. You know, it's not like Hellboy's fucking Iron Man, so it's not like it's a huge thing that they're like, yeah, fuck yeah, we gotta cash in on this Hellboy IP. Like, don't get me wrong, Hellboy's great, but like, I don't think that was the motivation here. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just like, I don't know, it was cheap because nobody knows what Hellboy is, so we could just get this and maybe we can make some money off it. I honestly don't know. It feels like wasted potential. It really does. Because could this have been like a good Resident Evil clone? Yeah, I think so. And given that he's, you know, part of an investigative bureau, it makes sense. Like, the logic is there. So this could have been a good game, and it could have been something that Hellboy fans could have appreciated. But it's not. It's not. And honestly, if it were me, I would be embarrassed to have my names in the credits of this game. I mean, I'm sure there's some things that went on behind the scenes that probably contributed to this being the way that it is. Because I can't imagine anybody just makes something like this and just looks at it and goes, you know what? I think we fucking nailed it. So I don't know, man. But no, please don't. It's like 4 hours long, but you could do so many better things with 4 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. So does this game hold up? I think the real question is this amongst the worst games I've ever played? Because we already know that this game does not hold up. So I'm not going to entertain that question. This game sucks, flat out. Is this amongst the worst games I've ever played? Let's look among the worst games I've ever played. Bubsy 3D, Superman 64, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Well, not really.
How dare you?
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. There are far worse. But among those two games, those are the most infamous games I think I've played on a scale of 1 to bad. This game is fuck. Oh, man.
You should have just left it there. It's like, my review. Fuck. This game is fuck.
Fuck. Look, I listen to his show. I'm a patron of a show called Super Garbage Day, and they have a tournament called the Super Garbage Bowl. And I nominated a game called Mortal Kombat Special Forces. I'm sorry. If I really wanted to win this tournament, I would have nominated this fucking game. Shout out to B. Ross and the Super Garbage Day podcast, because you need to play this fucking game. Just play it. Just play it. Just play it. You don't have to make a fucking episode out of it. You want to play the worst game on the PlayStation 1? Just give this game a taste. Put it on your tongue like a nice acid hit. Because like I want it I don't even. Why did I say that? Let me reset myself because I don't want to imply anyone does acid. Play this game and just put it on your tongue. Just massage it. Put it right on there. And just let me know how it compares to every single other piece of shit you're playing right now. And go check out the Super Garbage Bowl over at Super Garbage Day. Because, oh my God. Fuck. No. It sucks. Lyle, bring us home.
I mean, Shane kind of stole the point I was going to make, where I think this game holds up exactly as well as it did when it was released.
Technically,
which is to say, not at all.
Yep.
It's bad. It's bad. And if I hadn't been playing it to talk about it with you guys, because it was a Hellboy game, I wouldn't have jumped through the hoops that I did to try to finish it. The plot wasn't enough to compel me to keep playing it, even with the licensed characters. The gameplay sure wasn't compelling, and it looked like ass, and not the enjoyable kind. It's just in every place it could do well, it didn't. So no, doesn't hold up, and it probably does deserve its place among the worst games ever. Which I am thinking back, and that may be where I originally found it after having played it once way ago. Is I may have been looking for games to troll you with.
May have, he says.
No, let me rephrase it. I may have found this while looking for games to troll you with.
Ah, okay. There it is.
But it's bad.
I guess that concludes whether or not this game is held up today. I don't think I completed my thought on exactly what I thought. Better than Superman 64. It is. It is better than Superman 64. Worse than Bubsy 3D.
Okay, that's a really, really tight ranking.
So there's my rankings. That's where I meant to put there. That doesn't make me with the final word, whatever. That was supposed to go to our guests. I'm sorry, Lyle. That's my fault. Thank you all for joining us on this adventure and this expedition. We all had a good time. I am completely slaughtered after drinking the Golden Dragon. That caught up with me rather fast. I'm very toasted. So I do have to thank Lyle. Lyle, thank you so much, dude. This is going to be like drunk kind of praising right now. So I'm sorry if I over embellish some things, but thank you so much for being a patron for as long as you have been. Thank you for being a patron at the level you have been. And thank you just for being like a dude and a friend to this podcast and to myself and to Shane. And thank you for everything that you've done for the show for as long as you have. So if there's anything you want to say or anything you want to plug, I know that sounds very rudimentary at this point, but go ahead and do it. And before you do it, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, I've always said you show up for your friends by supporting what they do, and you guys are doing something cool here, and I'm thrilled to continue to support it. As for plugging things, I've got a couple. First off, anyone who can hear this who hasn't already, come to the 4-Job Fiesta. It's silly fun. You get the jankiest of parties, and you can still manage to make it your way through the game. Don't make that the first time you played Final Fantasy V, though. It is not an enjoyable experience for the first time you're playing the game.
Learn from my mistakes.
So many of your guests have so much fantastic content that they create, and I mostly don't. I do an absolute garbage podcast with two of my good friends, where at one point someone asked me what the show was about, and I laughed at them. What I want you to do is imagine just showing up at the bar with your two friends and just catching up and talking about all the things you found interesting or funny. That's the show. You can find us at urandom-podcast.info. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend it. I'm on it and I don't recommend it. It's mostly an excuse to talk to my friends, and then we let everybody else listen to it. But it's fun to do anyway.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, Chris already covered it, but I'll just echo what he said, that, obviously very much appreciate you being here on the show. It's been a bit since you've been on. And of course, appreciate you supporting this stupid thing that we're doing, and being here longer than anybody. So big ups for that one. And, maybe it's, I'm bringing this on myself, but maybe it's time to bring back some more of the tyranny. I don't know. I'm sure that you have the charisma, the chutzpah, if you really wanted to whip up the patrons into a pitchforked frenzy and just nominate some real heinous shit. So I'm sure that could probably happen if you wanted to make it happen. But
Shane,
yes,
all he wants is golden.
Oh, God damn it. No, I said bad, not good game that take forever.
I was going to say,
that's different.
I've really tried to redirect my trolling. Instead of making you play short, awful games, I just want you to play the game. Persona 4 Golden is the first time I played a video game and I'm like, this was art. It was the first game I played where I'm like, this is art. This is more than just, a way to, turn my brain off and have some fun. It changed the way I looked at video games. The fact that it's, 120 hours and you're just going to pour your time into it is it's a bonus, but it's true.
Is that a bonus
for me?
It's a good game.
It's a great game.
It's a great game.
I feel like that's an inevitability. Eventually, we've been kicking that can down the road long enough that eventually it's going to catch up. It has to.
I'm just going to keep putting it out there until enough people vote for it that you have to play it.
We did play Hellboy, Shane.
We did, yes. You chose that, for the record.
I did.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So, as far as we are concerned, if you have made it this far into the episode, then I am going to assume that you're either listening purely out of spite or maybe you enjoyed yourself. Hopefully the latter, but you know what? We'll take what we can get. In either case, we're glad that you're here, and we hope that you maybe enjoyed your time. And if you haven't already, I would highly recommend going and checking out the rest of our burgeoning backlog. It is ever growing. It does not stop. It will just continue to expand into infinity, and you will have content forever. So there you go. You should go listen to all that stuff. We are slowly but surely getting close to the 10-year anniversary of the show, which would imply that we have a whole bunch of content, and we do. So go check that out. Also, if you like the show enough and you'd like to support it in a perhaps more concrete sort of fashion, you can be like Lyle and be a patron. For as little as $1, you can join the Patreon and not only support the show, but also get access to a whole other set of content. There's so much. There's we don't know where to put it all. We're running out of space. Please listen to some of it. I don't know how that helps, but do it anyway. It doesn't. It really doesn't. No. I like to think that it does, but
I mean, I keep listening, but it doesn't seem to make any more space for you.
Yeah. I keep listening and it doesn't go away. But yeah, so check that stuff out. So you've got that, you've got the YouTube channel, you've got our socials, all those fun things, and we put it in one convenient place for you. It's all in one spot. All you got to do is head to linktree/retrohangover. That is linktr.ee/retrohangover, and you can tippy tap on the button of your choice, and it will take you to where you want to go as long as it has to do with us. And so there you have it. And Chris, would you like to inform the people about what they can do if they literally have nothing better going on a Sunday night?
Well, you can head on over to twitch.tv/retrohangover at 9 p.m. Eastern time, where I won't be as toasted as I am right now. No guarantees. But if you head over there...
At the start.
At the start. Definitely at the start. Well, maybe. But if you head over to twitch.tv/retrohangover, you can watch a stream a game of some sort. And sometimes
not
earlier,
this
sometimes
one.
later. What?
Not this one.
No, we are not streaming this game. No. But you will see us streaming a game. So just head on over there. We have a great community. They have great conversations. We haven't talked about how ass tastes in a while. So maybe if you want to ask that question, that would be an appropriate place to ask that, to find out how ass tastes. So if you head over to twitch.tv/retrohangover, join the chat. Ask how the anal cavity, causes your tongue to react. And you can get that answer. Back to you, Shay.
Where the fuck do I even go from that? I don't even... All right, anyway, it's probably a good time to wrap up the show. There you go. So with all of that perhaps regrettably being said, until next time.
Play with your maybe it tastes like metal joysticks.
Shane here with a quick message. You know, the one rule Chris and I have always gone by regarding advertisements is this. It has to be something we use and can personally vouch for. If you know me, you know I love coffee. And Bones Coffee Company has been my go-to for home brewing for quite some time now. Their small batch beans come in an impressive variety of flavors like Mint Invaders from Chocolate Space, or Electric Unicorn, which I swear tastes exactly like Fruity Pebbles. And the best part? No added sugar or calories involved, just natural flavors infused right into the beans themselves. Build your own sample pack of 5 4-ounce bags to find out which flavors speak to you, or jump in head first with full 12-ounce bags. They've even got K-Cups. Step up your homebrew game with Bones Coffee by visiting bit.ly/RHPBones. That's bit.ly/RHPBONES.